Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attendance here this morning on this very special occasion, the launch of Julia's book, and which you can see up here, Emotional Resilience and the Expat Child. And I think this book is overdue for many of us, and but just in time for many others. Julia's been a coordinator, a counsellor here at NIST for the last 3 years, and I think Julia's is considered amongst the people in the school and also the counsellors as being the young driving force and wise person behind the counselling that goes on in the school. And it's all her long-term experience, of course, which has given her this reputation on the road as an expatriate teacher and parent for about 20 years now. And lived in many different countries around the world. What I'd call, in inverted commas, an expert counsellor. And what I mean by that is that someone who knows their profession very well, but more importantly than that, knows how to impart that knowledge with other people that are around her. And that includes children, parents, but also staff. And she can do that with great care and also in confidence. The book covers emotional development and bonds between children and their families. Covers is probably not quite the right word. In fact, it's the wrong word. It explains what emotions are, how they're identified. It talks about the importance of attachment as well, and reflects upon the various stages of attachment. The book's interspersed with real-life stories from real families, not fictitious at all. There is an emphasis placed on the need for strategies, and when we take our children away from our homeland, it's one of the most important things that we can do as we physically separate them from not just their grandparents or their uncles or aunts or cousins, or perhaps the dog next door, or perhaps their own pet. It's one of the most difficult things we do, and I think sometimes we don't realise it, and sometimes we don't realise it till it's too late. Therefore, strategies are extraordinarily important to be able to cope with this change. Now, I was attracted to the story, one of the stories in there about Jackie, that's Julia's daughter, who at the age of 5 enrolled for about 1 month in a kindergarten in the US. And the reason it was 1 month is that they were en route from Australia to Indonesia via the States, a typical expat story of travel. So she could only go for about 1 month. And the teacher welcomed Jackie to the classroom and referred to Australia as being out of state. And Jackie coming from out of state. Now that evening Jackie was very sad when she got home to her mother, as she explained the story to her mother and was quite upset that her teacher had said that she was from outer space. So one never knows what young minds are thinking, and we don't always know, of course, how they interpret things, particularly young children at that age of about 4 or 5 or 6, or what she might have been. Now in the book, Julia provides opportunities for parents to write their thoughts down, to write down their strategies, to physically draw stories, and to describe emotions. So you do have some work to do if you buy this book. It's not just reading. Now my wife and I are quite good, and we have a lot of knowledge about this, and the problem is that it's now that we have the knowledge, and our children have gone, and they went a long time ago. So we're left in this, we could have done it a lot better than what we did do it, and we as expats have all sorts of experiences managing our own world and the world of our children as we travel around, and what have been a good help to me and my family and my travels would have been to have a book written by a lady called Simens, Emotional Resilience and the Expat Child. So I encourage you to buy it, perhaps before it's too late. Just as importantly, think of a friend who is travelling as you are, or have, and buy them a copy. It'll be the greatest favour you've ever done for them, I think. In fact, I see a lady there with only 3 books. I can't understand it. You know, there's lots more on the table here, and I'm sure you've got more than 3 friends. Congratulations, Julia, well done. Good luck with the sales. I hope it's all very successful for you, and thank you for sharing it with us and allowing us to join in with your launch here at NIST. Thank you.
I wondered where he was when I was in Washington, D.C., trying to get someone interested in this book. I really want to thank you. I feel very blessed to be here today, mostly because I'm standing in a room with educators that have the same thoughts, the same feeling that I do, and that is with each child that we come in contact with, we really want them to thrive. And that to me is quite an honor to be with those types of educators. I also am honored to be here with parents, because as parents I think we work so hard with schools to try to make sure our kids have academic success, but also emotional and social success. And as a international school counselor, I'm honored to be one of your peers. I think for the greater Bangkok community, I thank you for letting us reach out into your community and try to be the best we can be as we are on Thailand soil. And I have a few of my Chevron friends here, and I want to thank you in joining me on this trip around the world, because I wouldn't have become an expat mother or wife if I hadn't met Kevin, who is offshore today. For 10 years I was thinking about writing a children's book, and I really had an idea of what it would look like. And I wanted it to have two things that I hold very dear to my heart. I wanted it to have the connection of the parent reading the book to the child, and I wanted it to be something that they dealt with the emotions that they were going through. And I think my own two kids got really tired of this, because every time in the summer I'd sit around on the beach talking to them and I'd say, you know, I'd really like to write that book. And about 2 years ago, they both took that Nike commercial and they said, just do it. And so it was with their guidance that I decided that it would be worth to put my thoughts on paper. When my manuscript landed on the desk of a publisher named Jo Parfit, she said, I really like your concept. A couple things are wrong. So I did a lot of thinking last summer, and it came to mind that I had to take some of Stephen Covey's effectual 7 tips for families, and he always says start with the end in mind. And so I really had to sit down and think what it was, and it was to help parents, not so much a nighttime story for kids. And that's when this new title and this new book emerged. I wanted to combine my international bedtime stories with actually a framework for parents. In March, I was very lucky. The school let me go to a workshop in Washington, D.C., where we were giving sneak peeks of the book, and it was at a conference called Families in Global Transitions, and so there were lots of people from different embassies, large corporations, missionaries, some international schools, but the corporate community was what was most impressed with the book, because there was really a need for them to support their families around the world. So today is the actual first official launching of my book, and I was told that I should read part of the book that would be strong and powerful and full of emotions. And I said, Lordy, it's 350 pages. These people are going to be here all day, because it's all about emotions. And my publisher said, well, give them good food and let them go, but read one thing. So I'm actually going to read off of page 290 in the book. It says, every story your child tells, acts out through play or writes, contributes to his self-portrait. Each time your child describes an experience he or someone else has had, this constructs part of his past, adding to his sense of who he is and conveying that sense to others. Each time your child makes up a story about something that might have happened to himself or to another, he expands his world. Children who include emotions in their writings at home or in school are often more in touch with their own emotions and understand how one person's emotion might affect another person's emotion. Young children illustrate what they are feeling so they can show their story. Sometimes an event that seems totally trivial to you remains imprinted in the mind of your child. I just wanted to close with a little bit about why the stories often have a boy named Jack. Those of you that have teenage kids, you must be very proud of me to realize that I was able to convince not one but 2 teenagers that their private life should be made publicly. That is a big accomplishment. One of the ways we got around doing that is my daughter being called Jackie and my son being called Grant. We decided if we had a boy in the story named Jack, they could both deny it was about them. So that has worked extremely well. I do appreciate you guys coming today, and I thank you so much for your support.